Energy. Without it, the world economy would grind to a catastrophic halt. In the 20th century, wars have been waged over fossil fuels. What if we were to learn that there exists a new form of clean energy in virtually unlimited supply? A renewable resource, legitimized in hundreds of laboratory tests and peer-reviewed scientific journals, but which is ignored by governments and censored by many prestigious publications.
Water. Its urgent rush to shore has chiseled craggy cliffs from solid stone. It is home to the great animals of the sea, and is the stuff of which 60% of the human body is composed. Over 2/3 of our world's surface is covered with this life-sustaining substance. Yet to this day, many aspects of water remain a mystery. Over a century ago, visionary novelist Jules Verne wrote, "I believe that water will one day be employed as a fuel, that hydrogen and oxygen which constitute it, used singly or together, will furnish an inexhaustible source of heat and light." On March 23, 1989, Jules Verne's prophecy of a world powered by water rose upon the landscape of popular culture. Two distinguished chemists, Dr. Martin Fleischmann and Dr. Stanley Pons, announced to the amazement of the world that they had detected a nuclear-like reaction that could turn water into a powerful new fuel. Their discovery became known as cold fusion because, they said, it delivered fusion energy like that produced in the sun without emitting deadly radiation.
We didn't call it cold fusion at all. That was a term which was wished on us, but we never called it that. We felt the processes had to be nuclear to account for the high levels of the energy.
In answer to their claim, the Department of Energy quickly assembled a review panel headed up by Dr. John Huizenga.
We wrote a very negative report and concluded that the results that were being presented to us were contrary to everything we had found out about nuclear physics over the last 50 years.
The sword of this panel's condemnation struck with speed and brutality, ignoring the facts in a blind rush to judgment.
Hot fusion physics people have been very vigorous in their denunciation of this being called fusion.
Right away, reports came in of excess heat, much too large to be from any chemical reaction. Laboratories from Texas to India confirmed the presence of tritium, a vital determining feature of a nuclear reaction.
Within 2 or 3 weeks, we got the first results, and several groups started saying, yes, we are seeing excess heat, and but the most important and unbelievable phenomenon at that time was the observation of tritium.
A mudslinging frenzy followed. The old guard of the scientific establishment, with their powerful influence in media and government, did everything possible to denounce Pons, Fleischmann, and their unprecedented work.
In conclusion, we have no evidence in our laboratory with any of our samples for fusion.
I'm very sorry that Professor Lewis has no information on the tritium levels. That is available, and is available in the correction list to the paper.
We know the foreground, we don't know the background. I would like to specifically...
The background, I beg your pardon, the background is available in the corrections to the paper.
That might be. I would like to specifically hear whether or not helium...
Could we go on to the question?
Peer-reviewed publications like Nature divisively shamed the discoverers with allegations of incompetence, touching off one of the greatest tragedies in the history of science.
I think that, broadly speaking, it's dead, and it'll remain dead for a long, long time.
This was a discovery perhaps as significant as the Wright brothers' first flight at Kitty Hawk. But instead of embracing it, the governors of official science declared war on cold fusion. Was the promise of cold fusion too good to be true? Or was it trampled on by closed-minded, greedy power brokers whose special interests outweighed the public good?
Hydrogen and oxygen, the components of water, are two of the most reactive elements on Earth. Electrolysis, the process of extracting them from water as gas, has been known to science for nearly 200 years. This knowledge has enabled us to develop fuels, some of which are used to propel manned rockets into space. Though powerful, these chemical fuels don't hold a candle to the energy release of a nuclear reaction. The fire of this miracle was at the heart of what Pons and Fleischmann offered to the world with their groundbreaking cold fusion process.
When positively charged deuterons are attracted to the palladium cathode, they cram together, and there are millions and millions of them inside the cathode, getting closer and closer, and then they fuse, and they create energy in the form of helium. There's more energy in 1 cubic mile of seawater than in all the known oil reserves on Earth. I mean, you could drive your car 55 million miles on a gallon of heavy water. Maybe the end of pollution.
Hollywood's starry-eyed version of energy from water seems the stuff of fantasy. And while it is true that a definitive theory describing the effect has eluded scientists, former chief science writer for MIT, engineer Dr. Eugene Maloff, has assembled the evidence that takes the illusion out of cold fusion.
When I finished my book Fire from Ice in 1991, I concluded that the evidence for cold fusion was overwhelmingly compelling. Today, we can no longer say that the evidence is overwhelmingly compelling. It is now 100% certain.
Dismissed early on by carpers and critics, the field of cold fusion is very much alive. Energy-producing devices exist today that seem to defy the conventions of modern science.
We're getting nuclear energy output without the nuclear radiation byproducts.
If an atom were a huge athletic stadium, at its center would be a nucleus the size of a pea. In turn, an atom in the eye of this mouse would compare in size to the mouse, in the same way the mouse compares in size to the entire Earth. This comparison is characteristic of the monumental challenge faced by scientists worldwide in their effort to unravel the riddle of the cold fusion effect.
Well, our critics would say that the problem with cold fusion is that there is no theory to describe it. The problem is completely different. The problem is that there are far too many theories which purport to describe the same set of observations, and no more than one of these theories can be correct.
Fusion takes place when the nuclei of two atoms, usually hydrogen, collide and fuse together, releasing vast amounts of energy. Prevailing theory suggests that this can only happen at extreme temperatures like those found on the Sun, or in a nuclear blast. Experimental reactor facilities like the Jet Plasma Hot Fusion site in England have attempted to replicate the fusion process of the Sun for decades.
Because current technology demands that more energy has to be put into a reaction than comes out, it hasn't been economically viable. However, Stanley Pons of the University of Utah and Martin Fleischmann of the University of Southampton claimed that they could create a fusion reaction at room temperature and make fusion energy a reality with the potential of making uncounted billions of energy dollars.
Scientists at hot fusion facilities like Princeton and MIT, seeking to replicate solar fusion, have received untold billions for the building of magnetically ringed tokamak reactors. Although a great deal has been learned through experimentation in this field, the process itself has never produced a single watt of excess power. At the time of the Pons and Fleischmann announcement, hot fusion research was in full swing. Several powerful university budgets were reliant upon research dollars siphoned off government coffers into the development of this technology.
Partly it was a very unfortunate time to make such an announcement for various political reasons, really. The situation in the United States, the situation with regard to the program in hot fusion. That was against it, but also, of course, was the fact that we were not ready to make such an announcement.